Hey everyone, thank you so much for being here today. My name is Denise. I'm also known as heywigsister on Instagram and Facebook. Today I'm here with a Tip Tuesday video for you. In this video, we are going to talk about cooking with wigs. I am getting this question pretty much every day right now, sometimes multiple times a day as people are thinking ahead toward the holidays. And in case you didn't know, wigs can melt when around the heat from the oven or the stovetop. It is a real thing, and I know a lot of wig sisters, me included, who have singed a wig because we weren't careful enough around the oven. So I want to talk with you about that, and I assure you, you can wear wigs while cooking if you take proper precautions. So in this video, I'm actually going to show you some different wigs, some different styles and styling techniques that you might use to help protect those synthetic fibers. And then we're going to get into the kitchen, and I'm going to show you how I approach my oven and stovetop when I'm wearing a wig. And so far so good. Since I've learned how to wear a wig around the stove, I've had no issues with my wigs being singed. And so hopefully I'll be able to share with you some ideas so that you don't have to worry about this as you're thinking about cooking for your family over the holidays. And if you have experience with this, please leave your comments so that your wig sisters can learn from your own personal experience. And if you disagree with something that I'm sharing here, feel free to comment on that and share maybe what your experience is and why you think some of my advice isn't the best advice, because I'm learning as well. And so I compile a lot of information from things I watch and I pay attention, and I wear wigs every day. So I do have a fair amount of experience, but none of us are perfect. So engage in the comments because it's always helpful. Let's get into this. In this video, I am going to show you a couple of different wigs and ways that you can style them that will minimize their exposure to heat from cooking. And then we're going to go to my kitchen, and I'm going to show you how I approach the oven and the stovetop when I have wigs on. Now, of course, it's always an option for you to not wear a wig while cooking, but the reality is a lot of what happens is you're cooking while family is around and everybody's chatting and mingling, and you're finishing things up or pulling things out of the oven that are just finishing up. And so it isn't always practical to not wear a wig while doing this. The safest way, of course, is to not wear a wig, but I want this video to be more about how you can make it work when you still have to wear a wig. So the first thing we're going to talk about here in my bathroom is some ways you can style your wigs and some different wigs you might choose to wear so that you've got the best chance of success. And so right now I have on my head Wille Girl Mono. Girl Mono is quite curly and about a little below chin length, and curls all around. And so one of the things that I do with wigs that I would like to keep out of my face, keep off my neck, or protect is I wear them up. And so I have styled this Girl Mono with a headband, and I'll take it off so you can see the headband, and I have put it up in a clip in the back. Now, you can use bobby pins instead of clips, fancy little kind of barrette type things, so that it is a fancier hairstyle. So you can go from totally casual updo to a fancier updo depending on kind of what kind of gathering you're having and how you'd like your hair to look. But any wig that you can get up in a clip like this can be worn this way, and even pretty short wigs can be gotten into clips as long as you get strategic with bobby pins. And I like curly wigs up like this with headbands because they can look so cute when you take and you pull out some of those curls and you arrange them around the headband. So what this style is going to do is it's going to, well, first of all, it's going to keep you cooler, because if you're like me, you're running around, you're wrapping things up, last minute details, and then people are around, I tend to get really hot and sweaty. So wearing a wig off my neck is usually preferable. But I'm also protecting. So all of the hair that would have been down here is now back and protected from any heat that I may come in contact with as I'm cooking. So this is a great option if you have curly wigs and you're willing to wear them up like this and it's some type of an updo. And the headband not only adds a cute little touch to it, but it also helps to keep that hair pulled back as you're moving around, so you really do not have to think about it. So let me pull this headband off, and I'll just show you what kind of a headband I used. It's a very simple style. Just wrapped it around and tied it on my head. Let me see if I can get it untied. So basically, I just used like a silk headband. You can also use a bandana, which for an everyday casual look, that's more what I tend to do. But I have a number of these kind of headbands. You know, they're like scarf, or they're not actually headbands. It's a scarf. You know, you wear a scarf tied around your neck, but these thin, smaller are really great for putting in your hair. And all I did was I just wrapped it around. I tied it up here. I twisted it. And then I tied it around in the back. That's all I did. And then arranged the hair as I wanted all around that. So this is a great option, and you can dress it up and make it look super, super cute. So I highly recommend, if you've got headbands like these, I highly recommend pulling them out and playing with them. You know, here's a more of a leopard print one. I mean, you could just get so many. You could get a plain black one made out of this kind of material. So definitely consider that an option. And then the clip, all I did was I kind of picked up the hair, I twisted it around, and then I just used this claw clip and clipped it up in the back. Again, any kind of clip that will clip up the hair is great. And so play around and experiment with that. And so this is how Girl Mono looks. This particular Girl Mono, which is one of the curliest ones I've ever had, when it's down. And again, all of this is at risk if I'm not looking to protect it some way. So that is a great way to protect a wig if you have a curly wig. Now, if you own a short wig, even better. I'd say the shorter, the better, the more protected the wig can be. So this one is Raquel Welch Real Deal. And it's not super short, but it's definitely shorter. I mean, if you have an even shorter one than this, I would say go for it. But in this case, what I would do is I would just take some of the bangs, and I would just take, again, my fingers don't work so great, teeny tiny little claw clips, and I would clip up portions of the front. And this is just a quick clip up, but I could do it so it looks really cute, like it's a fancy hairstyle. You know, you can hide the clips underneath other fibers and then kind of pull them out and arrange them. So you can do something with a wig as long as you have a lace front, and keep some of that hair off of your face. Now, all of this isn't very protected, but just be aware of where your hair is. And when we go into the kitchen, I'll show you how I approach the oven and all of that. And so this could be a great option as well. Again, the shorter the better. This one is heat friendly. So I want to address heat friendly wigs versus regular synthetic. Even though heat friendly wigs can take heat up to a certain temperature, I think all of them have a little bit of a different recommendation. The blast of heat that you get from the oven is usually too high of a temperature, and it will singe a heat-friendly wig as well. But I think heat-friendly still could be good if you're doing a lot of cooking over the stove. Maybe you've got, you know, pots steaming a little bit, and just overall a lot of heat. You're around a lot of heat. As long as you avoid those super intense sudden blasts of heat that you can get, again, from opening the oven or lifting the lid of a pot, I do think heat friendly may be a better bet to really, it's just another notch up in the sense that these are going to tolerate a little bit more than regular synthetic. If you have experience with this, please leave it in the comments. I am just sharing with you some of the things I've read, I've seen, and then, you know, I wear wigs when I cook, and I'm just usually really careful. And I'm using a little bit of common sense. You know, when you think about heat-friendly wigs and you can put heat on them, that would tell me these might fare a little bit better in the kitchen while you're cooking. But they're not indestructible, you know, they're not invincible. There is a limit to how much heat they can take. So if you have a heat-friendly wig that you like, I'd probably wear that if you're super concerned, in addition to the other tips that I'm giving you in this video to try to protect your wig. The last wig I'm going to show you is a long wig, and I don't recommend it, but I know some of my wig sisters, you just, that's what you wear, are long wigs. Or, you know, you want to look extra special and fancy when you've got a gathering of family and you may have a favorite long wig. So I do want to address that. So the wig I have here is Peerless by BelleTress. This is in British Milktea. Girl Mono was in Saffron Red Rooted. I'll put all this in the description. And I'm totally spacing on the color of Real Deal. Okay, so just want to comb her out a little bit. The long wigs, when I put them on, I always get a little tangly. All right, so you've got a long wig. What are you going to do? How are you going to protect this one? Well, what I would recommend is that you just have yourself a little soft scrunchie, maybe one in a color that matches your outfit. And while you're cooking, I would recommend you just take and you pull the wig back and just stick it into a messy little pony, low pony. You can kind of tie it up like this. Just something that keeps it out of your face. And you can always throw a scarf over this one as well to protect. But so pull everything back the best that you can. Do your cooking. You know, people will understand if you've got long hair. A lot of people tie it back when they're doing something that their hair could get in the way. So people wouldn't think that's weird at all if you pull the wig back. And then when you're all done with cooking, you can just pull the ponytail out. You know, have a wide tooth comb with you, excuse yourself to the bathroom or something, and comb it out. And then you can move on and you've got your long style. And the beauty of wigs is they are really easy to take out of a style, fluff up, and they look great. Bio hair, not so much. Most people, at least if you're like me and had super thin, fine hair, if I put my hair in a ponytail, even for like 20 minutes, when I pulled it out, I would have crimps in my hair where the elastic was. I couldn't wear a hat and take a hat off and have my hair look good. I mean, wigs are really great in that way. So that's what I would do if I had a long wig and I was insistent upon wearing it. I would just find a way to style it while cooking that then I can just pull out and remove. And that's not unique to wig wearing. I mean, people, like I said, you see people walking around all the time who have long hair and they've got their pony holder around their wrist in case they need to throw their hair up. So that's what I would do if you decided to wear a long wig. So to kind of sum up this section, the hair you choose is going to be part of the puzzle here, and you may not be able to wear the exact hair that you would want to wear in the exact style that you want to wear it if you plan to do a lot of cooking with your wig on. So you want to keep in mind, how do I protect the hair as much as possible from the heat? And that way you won't have to worry about it as much. If you have questions about this section, please let me know. Again, I believe you can wear any wig while cooking as long as you take the proper precautions. As most of my videos, I mostly talk about synthetic fibers. I don't really hardly ever talk about human hair. But if you have a human hair wig, then you're good. You don't have to worry about it because it's going to act like regular human hair. It's not going to melt like synthetic fibers. So that would be another option. If you own a human hair wig, maybe you wear that for an event like this. Then you don't have to worry about it. I mean, if it's long, you still might want to have a way to kind of pull it out of the way while you're cooking, but you're not going to have to worry about it melting like synthetic fiber will melt. So That's it for this section. Let's get into my kitchen, and then I'll show you some of the things I do when I'm around the actual heat implements. All right, everyone, welcome to my kitchen. Let's talk about how to approach the oven and stovetop so that you have the greatest chance of protecting your wig. The first thing I want to mention is I am pretty tall. I am about 5'9", and so I do enjoy the luxury of being a little bit further away from the oven than maybe somebody who's quite a bit shorter than I am. I still think that there are things that you can do, but keep in mind the goal is always to try to stay as far away from the heat as you possibly can. So the first thing I want to show you is how I approach the oven when I'm going to take some things out. And I often forget that I have a wig on my head, and there are many times I open the oven and I'm not being very careful. Luckily, I haven't dealt with it singeing my wig so far, but I think just always having a practice of staying as far away from the oven as you can, even when you don't have a wig on your head, you'll build that muscle memory so that when you do have a wig on your head, you won't risk forgetting. So let me walk over here, and I'll just talk louder so that you can hear me. But one of the first things that I do if I'm going to open the oven while there's something in there cooking is I stand far away, kind of to the side, and I open it. See how I was far away and I just sort of leaned in and let that initial blast of heat come out of the oven so that I'm not standing over it when that heat comes out of the oven. That initial blast of heat is your biggest risk when it comes to your wig. And if you've ever experienced it kind of hitting you in the face, you know it can be very, very hot, especially if you're cooking at high temperatures. So get that initial blast of heat out before you approach the oven to take anything out of the oven. And then the next thing I recommend doing, and my oven's not hot, but I thought for demonstration purposes, I would have some gloves here. But let me also grab a utensil. So 2 options here that you would have. So let's pretend my oven is super hot. We got the initial blast of heat. I love these gloves, by the way, you guys. I should link them in the description. I love them so much. I actually bought them for Christmas gifts for all my family last year. They're amazing. So 2 things. If you're tall and you've got a nice long reach, you can sort of keep your head away from the oven and kind of reach in and pull that out, the rack out, so that you can approach whatever's on the rack from further away. Another option would be to take a utensil, I've just got a spatula here, and pull it out that way. Now, depending on what's on that rack, it may be too heavy for you to be able to do that. Cookies, a cookie sheet with things, this might work for you. A turkey, probably not so much. So that is one idea for you to try to get that rack out, because then the rack's out, and now I can approach the oven, always leaning away as much as possible and grab whatever's on there. And the heat at that point isn't so high that it's, you know, blasting your wig with that. So between avoiding that initial heat blast and trying to keep your head away from the oven as you're pulling things out, and having your hair in a style that all of this isn't down there, you know, back here, my hair back here is at no risk from the oven. So as much as you can pull back, all of that's going to help you be successful when you're cooking. So that's how I recommend approaching the oven. Avoid that initial heat blast. Try to get the rack out, so if you have to grab something off the rack, you can do that from as far away as possible. And then another option is just to enlist someone's help. You know, maybe you've got your husband on call to help you with that part of it. If people in your family don't know that you wear wigs, maybe you have somebody in your family who knows, and they can be your go-to person to just grab the stuff out of the oven for you. And then that way you don't have to call yourself out, because it's really common for people to help when we've got holiday meals. I sure hope it is in your family that people don't expect you to do everything all by yourself. But that's always an option. For the most risky things, which going into the oven is the most risky for your wig, maybe you enlist someone else to help you. Let's talk about the stove top now. So you've got stuff cooking on the stovetop here. Maybe I can bring you a little closer to me. So you have things cooking on the stovetop here. How do you avoid the heat from what's on the stovetop from getting at your wig? Well, again, I recommend if you're going to lift up the lid of a pot, for example, and there's steam coming out and it's, you know, boiling or bubbling, then I recommend, once again, the first initial, you're going to stand kind of a little ways away and you're going to lift that pot, the lid away from you, and let the initial blast of steam and heat to not hit you in the face or in the head or any of those things. And again, if your wig is styled in a way that you've got it protected mostly, then there's very little that you're actually having to worry about when it comes to that. Really just whatever is down in the front. So then, once that initial blast of steam and heat goes through, now you can kind of stir or, you know, add things. And just always be conscious of the fact that you have a wig on and that you need to kind of stay away as much as possible. Now, if you're quite a bit shorter than I am, and so obviously I'm able to get quite a ways away with my height, but let's just say you're 6 inches, 7 inches, 9 inches shorter than me, and you're much closer to that, that becomes more tricky. I think at that point, your styling of your wig is going to be paramount to how much you can protect your wig, because you're not able to get as far away from the heat source. So really be thinking about that when you're styling your wig. How do I protect as much of the fibers as possible from the heat? Again, enlisting helpers for the things that are the riskiest for your wig is also something that I highly recommend, because that will also help you. I think the heat from this is going to be less risky than the initial blast of heat from the oven because of the temperature that the oven runs at. So I don't know that this is as troublesome, especially if you can avoid the initial steam release or steam blast that comes when you lift a lid. So what do you guys think? Does this help? If you have a lot of wig experience and you've cooked a lot with, you know, during your wig journey, do you think that these will work? They're the things that I do, and I've singed my wig one time early in my journey before I even knew that was a thing. And I've never had an issue since because I follow all of these practices and they are working. But you know, it only takes one time. So please leave your comments and suggestions to help your wig sisters out. But I hope that this not only got you thinking about how to solve this very solvable problem, but it also gave you a little confidence that you can cook with a wig on. It just takes some pre-planning and some preparation, all things that are doable for every single person watching this video. Every single one of you could do the things I've shown you today. They do not take great skill. They do not take years of experience. It's just a matter of planning ahead. So maybe you start deciding what wig you're going to wear now and you start practicing the styling of that wig if that's an area that you struggle. Maybe you prepare someone in your family now who's going to be your helper for the most risky things in the kitchen so that you don't have to worry about it. And so everybody knows what their job is and what's going to be expected of them. And you can always prep as much as possible ahead of time so that you don't have to do much of this. And that's going to be a gift to you anyway, because I know for me, one of the things I dislike the most when I have people over is that I'm spending all kinds of time in the kitchen finishing up. So I tend to choose food and appetizers and dishes that I can predominantly have ready ahead of time so that I can spend my time mingling and socializing and it doesn't have to be spent preparing and cooking. So think about your menu too and what you might do to help so that this stuff back here is minimum. Thank you so much for being here. I truly hope that this has given you some peace about this and has helped you. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. And any video suggestions, please send them my way. I really, really love you guys, and I will talk to you soon.